Hi guys, this is Linda Margaret. I will be reading the first chapter of To Love Myself. It is titled How They Meet. The phone's insistent ring, a shrill, unwelcome intrusion, sliced through the thick silence of Samantha's apartment. The same ringtone, the one Rob had picked, now a mocking echo. 7 months. 7 months since Harper Maloney. The name, a jagged shard of glass, still tore at her insides. Stale coffee clung to the air, a ghost of mornings they'd shared, now curdled with a bitterness that tasted like ash. Her fingers, restless, traced the worn edge of the couch. A silent echo of his hand, a phantom touch that sparked a flicker of what? Anger? Grief? A hollow ache she couldn't name. It had been so long since the touch had felt anything. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing the memory to dissolve, but it clung, a dark stain on the fabric of her mind. They wanted her to move on, their voices bright and brittle, like shattered porcelain. Their pity, though well intentioned, felt like a cruel mockery. How could they understand the way the world had leached of its color, the vibrant hues replaced by a suffocating gray? It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the emptiness that had taken root, a hollowness that spread like a slow, insidious poison. She felt like a shell, a ghost of her former self, and the anger that simmered within her threatened to consume what little remained. She clenched her hands into fists, nails digging into her palms, a small, sharp pain against the vast, dull ache within. The phone finally stilled, only to ring again moments later. Samantha snatched it up, her voice a weary whisper. Hello. Hey girl, how you feeling? Chanel's voice was bright. Too bright. Good, Samantha lied, a yawn punctuating the word. Oh, that's great to hear. Then get ready, because we're picking you up in 5. Bye. No, Chanel. Ugh. The line clicked dead. Samantha sighed. Of all her friends, Chanel was the most relentless, a force of nature determined to pull Samantha from her self imposed isolation. 5 minutes later, the buzzer echoed through her small apartment. Geez, they don't take no for an answer. Slipping into her white cotton waffle robe, she moved through the apartment, a whirlwind of nervous energy. The cool tile of the kitchen floor felt sharp against her bare feet. Dishes clattered in the sink. The counter gleamed under a quick wipe, all a frantic attempt to create order in the chaos of her emotions. The banging on her door grew more insistent. Okay, okay, geez, Chanel. She opened the door to a flurry of greetings. Hola. Wait, weren't you ready? Victoria asked, her brow furrowed with concern. They were all dressed impeccably in their usual dark business attire. Hey, girls. I I don't think I can go out today. Samantha hugged herself tightly, the waffle robe a flimsy shield against their scrutiny. Does your stomach hurt? Soraya asked, her doctor's eyes already assessing Samantha's pale face and the way she clenched her robe. Samantha shook her head, defeated. Hi, baby girl, Tara said, her voice gentle. Hello, Miss Tara. How are you tonight? Samantha managed a tired smile. To tell you the truth, I'll be doing much better just as soon as you get dressed and go out with us, Tara replied, a hint of steel in her voice. Samantha closed her eyes, a silent scream building in her throat. She knew they meant well, but their insistence felt like an intrusion. She took a deep breath, trying to regain control. We're just going out to eat, Sam, Soraya said, shaking her head. She was no psychiatrist, but she recognized the signs of depression. We are? Chanel, what did you tell Sam we were doing? Victoria asked, turning to Chanel. Nothing. I told her to get dressed because we were picking her up in 5. Chanel replied, her attention glued to her phone. Why dress up when they'll still betray you, no matter how good you make yourself look? Samantha's voice trembled, the words laced with a raw vulnerability she couldn't hide. Her laughter, once a vibrant melody, had become a distant echo, replaced by a hollow ache. Soraya, sensing the shift in mood, glanced around. Hey, Sam, where are all your groceries? Her eyes landed on the almost empty refrigerator containing only a bottle of water and a jar of strawberry jam. I haven't shopped this week. So what do you eat? Samantha shrugged. You have to fuel up, Samantha. It's not good for you not to eat, Soraya scolded gently. Did you see this? She opened the refrigerator door wider. This is not, Victoria closed the door, giving Soraya a warning look. She took Samantha's hand. Come, I'll help you get dressed. I don't feel like it's the right thing to do yet, she said. Baby girl, it's been 7 months. You need to distract yourself from these four walls. Now go change, because this time we're not going anywhere without you. And if we have to stay here the entire night, then I call dibs on the couch. Fine. Samantha rubbed her forehead and walked into her bedroom, Victoria following. 30 minutes later, Victoria emerged. I present to you our gorgeous girl. She smiled, pushing the door open. Samantha stood there, transformed. Wow, you look so cute. They knew she was struggling. They knew about the disease, the infidelity, the unanswered questions that haunted her, the why. Why me? If you never loved me, why not just leave? These questions were a constant torment, a dark cloud that smothered her. But tonight, they were determined to offer a slither of light. Samantha's black pants, gray blouse, and lack of makeup spoke volumes. Her face was a mask of grief. Her friends didn't care. They were determined to get her out, even if it was just for a few hours. They arrived at Rodolfo's, a restaurant that excluded wealth and exclusivity. Chanel, ever the what they wear columnist, had chosen the venue, hoping for a scoop. The valet parking lot gleamed with polished luxury cars, the air thick with the scent of expensive perfume and the low murmur of conversation. The restaurant was a study in contrast. The sleek black quartz tables juxtaposed against the warm glow of the plush gold carpeting. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, casting a soft light on the diners below. And at the far end of the room, a magnificent fireplace stood ready for winter. As they ordered, a commotion erupted near the entrance. Two celebrities, a man and a woman, were making their way through the crowd, followed by a throng of flashing cameras. Chanel's eyes lit up. The man dressed in fitted black pants, a gray shirt, and a black coat radiated a casual sexiness. The woman, in a short copper sequin dress, oozed celebrity. Oh my gosh, that's Caleb De Bóu and Amy Scott, Chanel squealed. Samantha stood abruptly, pushing her chair back. Where are you going? To the ladies' room. Is that okay with everyone? She met their gazes, a hint of defiance in her eyes. They didn't respond. She strode towards the back of the restaurant. Caleb, Amy, and their entourage were seated just a table away. Oh my gosh, there they are. Chanel smoothed her blouse and dabbed at her face with her napkin. I'ma go over. Calm down, girl. You don't want to spook them, Soraya cautioned. Spook them? Are they a CM are they a CMI client? Victoria asked. No, I mean, not yet, but if I can get them out, you'll do nothing, Tara interrupted. Next thing you know, we're going to be escorted out of the restaurant. Why don't you get their attention first, smile, and see where that leads? 2 minutes later, Caleb stood. He walked in the same direction as Samantha. Two large men flanking him. Bodyguards. Anyone looking past the celebrity facade could see the weariness etched on his face, the shadow of sadness in his eyes. He looks sad, doesn't he? Soraya commented. Really? I didn't notice. Chanel was already planning her approach. Maybe he's just tired, Victoria replied. How long have they been together? Tara asked, her eyes following Caleb. I don't know. A year, maybe, I think, Chanel said. All I know is that they're always together. The door to the ladies' room swung open, revealing Samantha. She was focused on drying her hands, her movements unhurried, almost peaceful. Caleb's eyes flickered towards her, catching the quiet, almost serene way she moved. It was a stark contrast to the frenetic energy of the restaurant, the flashing cameras, and even Amy's carefully curated glamour. He paused, a momentary stillness in his stride. He continued walking, his gaze drawn back to her. He couldn't quite place it, but there was something about her that felt different. Not just her beauty, but a sense of self possession that seemed untouched by the chaos around them. He found himself lingering, his eyes tracing the line of her shoulder, the way her hair fell around her face. Caleb and his bodyguards continued forward. Out of habit, the heavier guard Jesse reached out and pulled Samantha roughly to the side. She stumbled, a gasp escaping her lips. Without hesitation, her hand balled into a fist and connected with Jesse's jaw with a surprising thwack. He staggered back, clenching his face in disbelief. Before Caleb could react, Jesse tried how best he could to explain his duty when Caleb De Bóu passed by. Samantha rounded on them both, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know who the heck Caleb De Bóu is, and I don't care, she snapped. Don't you ever touch me again, she said, pointing a finger at him. Samantha turned her attention to Caleb, her eyes narrowing. You must be Caleb, she stated, a hint of challenge in her voice. Caleb swallowed, his gaze fixed on her. He could see the anger blazing in her eyes, but he also saw something else. A flicker of vulnerability. He waited, unsure of what she would say next. You should learn to teach your barbaric bodyguards not to disrespect women, she said, her gaze locking with his, a spark of defiance in their depth. You don't push women aside just because you're passing by. Who the heck do you think you are? She held his gaze for a beat longer, then, without waiting for a response, turned and walked away. Caleb watched her go, a strange mix of confusion and fascination swirling within him. He didn't know what to say. He was used to apologies and deference. This was something new. He was intrigued. He felt a strange compulsion to follow her, to understand the fire in her eyes. As he watched her, a tightness began to form in his chest, a subtle pressure he couldn't quite explain. Absolutely, he finally managed to whisper, most to himself than anyone else. A shy smirk played on his lips. You okay, Jess? Jesse nodded, rubbing his jaw. Yeah, boss, just a little surprised. Caleb shook his head, still watching the woman as she rejoined her table. He glanced at Amy, whose smile seemed a little too tight. He felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to go over there, to apologize, to explain. But what? Explain what? He wondered. That my bodyguard mishandled her? That I was too stunned to react? I don't think you want Amy seeing you eye another girl, do you? Matt, the other bodyguard, said in the most disgruntled tone as he noticed Caleb watching the girl sitting a table away from theirs. Caleb ignored Matt. He didn't see why he needed to answer to his bodyguard. He planned to send her a drink or invite them to sit with him, uniting the tables together. But in the 5 minutes he took in the restaurant, the girls had already gotten their food and were eating. He made his way back to his table, his thoughts in turmoil. He sat down heavily, his gaze drawn back to Samantha's table. He wasn't staring, not yet, but his eyes kept returning to her, almost involuntarily. He observed how she interacted with her friends, the way she laughed, the subtle shifts in her expression. It was like watching a film, a captivating scene he couldn't tear himself away from. What's wrong? Amy asked, her voice laced with concern. Nothing, Caleb mumbled, his eyes still on Samantha. He's fine, Matt, the bodyguard said quickly. He shot Caleb a warning look. I'm fine, Caleb echoed, but he knew it was a lie. He couldn't shake the image of the woman's fiery eyes, the way she had stood up to him, to everyone. He found himself studying her more intently now, the casual observation evolving into a more focused gaze. He was trying to decipher her, to understand the conflicting emotions he saw, the strength, the vulnerability, the spark of anger that still lingered. I can't believe he keeps looking this way, Chanel murmured, her eyes wide. Do you think he knows who I am? No, you know what? Maybe he wants to talk to us. Samantha and her friends exchanged glances. Caleb's gaze was now undeniably fixed on their table, particularly on Samantha. His expression was a mix of curiosity and something else, something that made his bodyguards shift uncomfortably. Something was oblivious. Samantha was oblivious, or pretended to be. Sam, did something happen while you were in the restroom? Victoria asked, noticing Caleb stare profoundly on Samantha. No, not really, Samantha said, picking at her food. What do you mean, not really? Something either happens or it doesn't, Chanel said. Now what the heck happened? Sam? Soraya chimed in. I punched his guard, Samantha said, nonchalantly, taking a bite of chicken. You did what? Victoria exclaimed, slamming her hand on the table. Do you realize you could get sued? Victoria, stop it, Chanel said. Sam, did you apologize? No. No? Tell me tell me exactly what happened, Victoria insisted. Vicky, they're big guys. I'm sure he's fine. What I'm most concerned about is her hand, Tara said, looking at Samantha's hand, which was now swollen and turning purple. Oh, Sam, Sarah shook her head. Sir, she waved her hand at the waiter. Could you bring some ice in a Ziploc bag? My friend has injured her hand. The waiter hurried away. Just then, Caleb stood up and walked over to their table. I couldn't help but notice your hurt hand, he said quietly. You mean you hurt my friend, Samantha mumbled, still focused on her food. Mr. De Bóu, we are so sorry for the, incident, Victoria stammered. I assure you, everything is fine with us. But I'm afraid you can't say the same about your friend, Caleb said, his gaze fixed on Samantha. Perhaps you should take her to the nearest hospital? Nope, my friend's a doctor, Samantha said. I got her, Soraya confirmed. Whatever the cost, please bill me for it, Caleb said, handing Soraya his card. He then turned to give his card to Samantha, but she ignored him. He left it on the table next to her plate. In fact, I'd like to pay for your dinner tonight. No, that's nice of you to do. Thank you for covering our dinner, Chanel interrupted Samantha. This is ridiculous, Samantha said, throwing her napkin down. She stood up and walked away. Caleb's gaze followed her as she stormed away, her friends trailing behind her, their voices echoing through the restaurant. Samantha, wait, Sam, come back. The insistent calls, the repetition of her name, finally registered with him. Samantha. The name resonated, a soft, almost melodic sound that lingered in the air. He watched as they disappeared through the restaurant doors, the echoes of her name fading into the background noise. Samantha. He rolled the name around in his mind, a curious warmth spreading through him. He found himself wanting to say it out loud, to test the sound of it on his own tongue. Samantha. The rest of the evening blurred into a meaningless hum of celebrity chatter and forced smiles. Only the sound of her name and the image of her face, contorted in anger, yet somehow beautiful, remained sharp in his mind. This was the end of chapter 1. I will probably read chapter 2 next week. I feel like I owe you guys because I don't have my book with me, and I would have liked to have read from the book for you guys. But I had to read it off of my manuscript, and it was kind of challenging because sometimes I scratch stuff off. And anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon.